Good morning. Welcome to the February 2019 Public Safety News Conference for the City of Winston-Salem. My name is Trey Mayo. I'm the Fire Chief, and the Fire Department is going to lead off this morning, followed by some news and information from the Winston-Salem Police Department. The first items for the Fire Department this morning, we have 2 line of duty deaths to recognize, remember for the month of February. Firefighter Joe Whitlow died in the line of duty February 24th, 1911, and was the first line of duty death suffered by the Winston Fire Department. Shortly before midnight, Firefighter Whitlow responded with ladder 2 to a commercial building fire in the old Farmer's Warehouse, which at the time was located at the corner of Liberty and Trade Streets. Whitlow was killed as a result of a building collapse. He was 36 years old and left behind a wife and 4 children. It is estimated that 5,000 people attended his funeral. On February 10th, 1934, Fire Lieutenant Gilbert Kimball responded with Engine 6 to a house fire at the corner of Bidding and Country Club Roads. On arrival, they found heavy fire conditions in a detached garage. Lieutenant Kimball and another firefighter entered the garage to conduct interior fire suppression operations. Both suffered injuries as after part of the heavy timber garage roof collapsed on them. Both were transported to Baptist Hospital for what were believed at the time to be non-life-threatening injuries, but unfortunately, Lieutenant Kimball succumbed to his injuries overnight on February 11th. He was 32 years old. Please join me in a moment of silence in memory of Firefighter Joe Whitlow and Fire Lieutenant Gilbert Kimball. Thank you. An announcement on behalf of both the fire and police departments, as well as the city's Recreation and Parks Department. The three departments will partner for the annual Black History Month celebration on Sunday, February 24th at 3 p.m. at Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. That's located at 4129 Northampton Drive. The fire and police departments will honor the accomplishments of retired African-American personnel, and the Recreation and Parks Department will recognize winners of its Black History Month art and writing contests. And now the final thing we have for the fire department this morning is I'd like to introduce you to a new apparatus that we placed in service just before Christmas. Its moniker is Ladder 1. I'm gonna move over to the monitor. So Ladder 1 is pictured here on the left, and Ladder 2 is on the right. So Ladder 2 was the aerial apparatus that was assigned to Central Fire Station serving the downtown area. Ladder 2 has now been assigned to Station 2 out on Somerset Drive off of Stratford Road, way out Stratford there behind the sheets in the food line. So as you'll see in some following video, Ladder 1 is what's known as a tractor-drawn aerial. So it is designed like a tractor trailer like you'd see hauling freight up and down the highway is. And these we're seeing a return of tractor-drawn aerials in the fire service. It is not new technology. They've been around for 100 years, and as a matter of fact, this is the 3rd tractor-drawn aerial that the fire department has had. We had a 1937 Perch Model 16SX XS that was that had an 85-foot wood ladder. Now I know all those models and things don't mean anything to most folks, but for folks who are watching us who are into fire apparatus, it means something to those folks. We also had a 1955 Seagrave Anniversary Series, and it also had an 85-foot ladder. Ladder 1 here, the new ladder, that's a 101-foot KME aerial cat, replacing the 100-foot Sutphen SPH platform that had been serving downtown. It's not apparent in these photographs because these photos aren't to scale, but the old ladder 1 now serving as ladder 2 is 47 feet long. The body of the truck is 47 feet long, bumper to bumper. The new ladder 1 serving downtown, 59 feet long, so quite a bit of difference in length. What you're going to see in the video is that's not apparent from the still picture is ladder 1, because of its tractor drawn design, has 2 steering axles. So the front axle steers, there's a driver in the cab like you would expect there to be on a fire truck. There's a driver in the cab operating the front steering axle, and then it has a rear cab that are referred to as the tiller position. That position is operating a rear steering axle, and then with the tractor drawn arrangement, this piece of fire apparatus also articulates at the connection between the rear of the tractor and the front of the trailer. So what we get with the tractor drawn design, we get additional compartment space for carrying tools and equipment. Some of our ladder trucks are sort of, for lack of a better term, bursting at the seams with tools and equipment. So we got additional compartment space. You get better ladder access. So when you raise this ladder out of the bed, this is the old truck from downtown. When you raise this ladder out of the bed, the turntable is right here. So the base of the ladder is in this area right here. So you're limited in your front ladder access because the cab's in the way, the cab of the truck is in the way. On this ladder, because of the articulating nature, they can approach, and this truck will move sideways, they can move in toward accessing a building, and then because of the articulation, they turn the cab and the rear of the trailer away and point the turntable of the ladder toward the building. So you get a lot more what's called scrub area with the ladder. The other thing to note, the benefit we get with the tractor drawn area with the 2 steering axles, particularly in the downtown area, because streets are so tight, cars are parked, there's a lot of narrow streets, one-way streets, cars parked alongside the streets, tight turns. In an effort to help this ladder, the old ladder from downtown, negotiate those turns, when you see it from the side, you'll notice it has a very short wheelbase. So what you've got out here is there's about 14 or 15 feet of this truck behind the rear axle. So you get a whole lot of what's referred to in the business as tail swing. So you have to be very careful turning this truck when you're sitting next to parked cars and in a turn lane in an intersection, because there's so much of the truck chassis behind the rear axle. And in addition to that, because of that short chassis nature, it puts a lot of stress on the chassis and the suspension parts of the truck. This truck was out of service 86 days in calendar year 2018 for repairs because of the stress of twisting and turning in the downtown area. So, Mr. Knupp, if you will, let's show the video. So this starts out Monday morning. They were leaving Central for a house fire in Engine 12 area. This is the view from the tiller position. We're making a left turn out of Central Fire Station on Marshall Street. This is on 8th Street, MLK, approaching Patterson. They're making their way down to New Walkertown Road. So here you can see from the tiller position how the truck is articulating. This is an aerial view shot with our very capable videographers in our marketing and communications department. Shot this aerial video with their drone, and what you see is the old ladder truck from downtown trying to negotiate a cul-de-sac. So they're going to have to get in there as best they can, and then they're going to have to back up to be able to make the turn. And you can see what I'm talking about here, all the body of that truck that is behind the rear axle. And here's a good illustration of all that tail swing that goes on because of that short wheelbase design. So they get in and get out with backing up one time. Here's the new ladder one, the tractor drawn aerial. You'll be able to see the tractor and trailer design right here when it goes by. Now remember, this truck is 12 feet longer. So you see the articulation here. You can tell that the steering axle back here, you can see the tires out of a line as the tiller position is steering. So they go in and they come out without backing up. Here's another illustration. This is the old ladder from downtown trying to negotiate a turn in a residential area. What you can't see off the side of the screen, there's a street sign right here. So he's mounting the curb back here to make the turn, and there's a street sign on the driver's side of the truck up here that he's not able to make the turn because of the extended bumper. Can't make that turn, has to back out, still mounts the curb to make the turn. Same turn, same approach with the tractor drawn aerial. So you see there the much tighter turning radius because of the multiple steering axles. And here you get to see as they come around and approach, you'll get to see that rear steering axle working. These tires are called super singles, so they carry the same weight as dual rear wheels, but it's a single wide tire, same width as dual rear wheels. You see these in over-the-road tractor trailers. They use them for fuel efficiency because there's less wind drag between the dual on a super single than there is for airflow in between the dual rear wheels. But in any regard, that's an introduction for you for what is designated Ladder 1. Again, it's assigned to Central Fire Station downtown on Marshall Street, and we'll have Ladder 1 and Ladder 18. That's a 104-foot conventional ladder truck that we have that's assigned out at the corner of Peacehaven and Robin Hood. Both those ladders will be available to you for up-close and personal inspection. They'll do demonstrations for you. That'll be tomorrow, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day at 11 a.m. at 2438 Stratford Road. That's the parking lot of the old City's Bar and Grill out on Stratford Road. So members of the public who are interested in seeing those trucks up close, and members of the press who'd like to get up close and personal to them, please come out tomorrow, 11 a.m. That's February 14th, 2438 Stratford Road. That concludes the presentation from the fire department. I'm now going to turn it over to Chief Katrina Thompson from the Winston-Salem Police Department.
Thank you, Chief Mayo. Good morning. I am Police Chief Katrina Thompson, and on behalf of the women and men of the Winston-Salem Police Department, I too would like to welcome you to the February 2019 Public Safety News Conference. First, please join me in honoring our fallen officers for the month of February who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Sergeant Howard J. Pluff, end of watch, February 23rd, 2007. On Friday, February 23, 2007, Sergeant Howard Pluff was fatally shot outside a bar after he responded to a call for help from a Forsyth County deputy at approximately 2:00 a.m. 4 deputies were working off-duty security at the Country Western Bar when a fight broke out during a private party. The fighting moved outside the bar, and several shots were fired, one of which struck Sergeant Pluff. He was transported to Wake Forest University Baptist Medical Center, where he succumbed to his wounds approximately 21 hours later. The shooter was apprehended 4 days later and charged with first-degree murder. On March 11, 2010, he was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 21 years in prison. Sergeant Pluff was a 17-year veteran of the Winston-Salem Police Department, and he is survived by his wife and 2 daughters. Officer Stephen L. Amos. On Monday, February 27, 1995, Officer Stephen Amos was shot and killed while he and another officer were responding to a call of shots fired. Officer Amos and his partner were traveling to a training session when they heard a shots fired call in a nearby apartment complex. Officer Amos drove their patrol car onto the street when they encountered sniper fire. He positioned the patrol car to block traffic and got out of the car to take cover. As Officer Amos exited the patrol car, the sniper fired and the round went through the car and struck him. Other officers were able to remove Officer Amos out of the line of fire and transport him to a local hospital where he succumbed to his wounds the next day. The suspect was sentenced to death and was scheduled to be executed on February 27, 2004, until a U.S. District Court judge issued an indefinite stay of execution. The suspect died in prison on December 5, 2008. Officer Amos is survived by his wife, brother, and parents. Now please join me in a moment of silence to honor Sergeant Pluff and Officer Amos, as well as all women and men across our country who's paid the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. Before I begin with our upcoming events, I'd like to take this time to thank the women and men of the Winston-Salem Police Department for their hard work and dedication in protecting and serving the citizens of Winston-Salem every day. Our upcoming events. Our annual Special Olympics Polar Plunge will be held Saturday, February 23rd at Emerald Point Water Park in Greensboro. The gates open at noon and the jumping begins at 1. Please come out and support our law enforcement employees who will be jumping and to support our Special Olympics athletes. As Chief Mayo has mentioned, our annual Black History Month celebration service will be held Sunday, February 24th at Galilee Missionary Baptist Church, located at 4129 Northampton Drive. The event will take place at 3:00 p.m. We are excited to announce that Basic Law Enforcement Training Class number 74 will begin on Monday, February 25th, 2019. And finally, our 2019 Citizens Police Academy will begin on April 4th, 2019. Please contact Officer Claudia Morgan with questions at 336-408-8126. Applications are due by March 12th, 2019. Next from the Winston-Salem Police Department is Lieutenant Eric Montgomery from our Criminal Investigations Division, who will provide you an update on a recent arrest of a cold case sexual assault. Lieutenant Montgomery.
Good morning. My name is Eric Montgomery, and I'm a lieutenant currently assigned in our Criminal Investigations Division of the Winston-Salem Police Department. The Winston-Salem Police Department's Criminal Investigations Division has a section of detectives that specialize in the investigation of sexual assaults committed against persons. Their investigations are not limited to, but include sexual assaults against juvenile and adult victims. A sexual assault can be the most devastating thing to happen to any person. The resulting pain and trauma can last a lifetime. Our SVU, or Special Victims Unit, specializes in the investigation of these heinous crimes. During preliminary and follow-up investigations of sexual assaults, officers and detectives will encourage victims to have a medical examination known as a SANE kit conducted at a hospital. This evidence will be collected, preserved, and maintained for examination. This examination as evidence can provide critical information to aid investigators in the arrest and successful prosecution of someone who sexually assaults another person. The Winston-Salem Police Department has maintained evidence in cases of sexual assault many years beyond the occurrence of the crime. We've maintained evidence that at the time, we may not have had the ability to test. Years ago, DNA testing was somewhat new, somewhat limited, and very expensive, which limited our ability to test some evidence. Technologies exist today to test evidence that we may have collected, preserved, and maintained many years ago. We never know when technology or information for an investigation might become available. We will periodically go back and review evidence in older investigations to see if they might benefit from newer technology. The Sexual Assault Kit Initiative is a grant program administered by the U.S. Department of Justice, and the North Carolina Department of Justice was a grant awardee. This provided the Winston-Salem Police Department with the opportunity to submit sexual assault kits for examination using accredited private labs. The Winston-Salem Police Department constantly seeks opportunities like this, and we've been taking advantage of this program by submitting sexual assault kits for analysis. So far, we have reviewed the evidence in about 283 cases and sent those kits to be tested, the oldest one being from 1988. Once again, technologies exist today to test evidence that we may have collected, preserved, and maintained many years ago. In some cases, detectives may develop new information on investigations that began many years ago. In 1990, a woman reported to Winston-Salem police officers that an unknown man broke into her home and sexually assaulted her. Information at the time was very limited, making it difficult to develop a suspect in that case, until now. Members of our Detectives Special Victims Unit submitted evidence in this case for analysis and developed a suspect in this crime committed in 1990. This investigation continues 29 years later and has led detectives to the arrest of Mr. Horace Stokes, Jr. Yesterday, we released a public records release, which I'd like to reiterate for you. Shortly after midnight on January 9th, 1990, officers with the Winston-Salem Police Department were dispatched to 1639 Lincoln Avenue on a reported rape. Upon their arrival, the officer spoke with an adult female from within the home. On the night in question, this adult female was in the residence with her 3 children, all of whom were under the age of 7. For purposes of this public records release, we're just going to refer to this female person as the victim. On the night in question, the victim reported to officers that she was awakened by a male standing over her bed. The male was armed with a knife and had his face concealed. The victim reported that the male sexually assaulted her and then fled the residence. The case was referred to the Criminal Investigations Division of the Winston-Salem Police Department for further investigation. No investigative leads were developed, and the investigation was later closed inactive on May 10th, 1990. Despite the closure of the investigation as inactive, the evidence gathered in the above referenced matter was held and preserved in the evidence management section of the Winston-Salem Police Department. In 2017, the Winston-Salem Police Department was invited to participate in a program in which certain sexual assault kits could be submitted for analysis at a private laboratory. In December of 2017, the sexual assault kit collected as a part of this particular investigation in 1990 was submitted for analysis. In August of 2018, detectives learned that pursuant to that analysis, DNA evidence was identified that led investigators to a suspect in this matter. The criminal investigation was reopened at that point in time and has since been active. On February 12, 2019, detectives obtained warrants for arrest charging 58-year-old Horace Stokes Jr. with first-degree burglary and first-degree rape in connection to that investigation. At the time these warrants were obtained, Horace Stokes Jr. was being held in the Forsyth County Detention Center on unrelated matters. Horace Stokes Jr. received a secured bond in the amount of $1 million in this matter, and a preliminary court date of February 28, 2019 has been set. A booking photograph was attached to this public records release. Authorities ask that anyone with information regarding this 1990 sexual assault investigation contact the Winston-Salem Police Department at 336-773-7700 or Crime Stoppers at 336-727-2800. Crime Stoppers may also be contacted via Crime Stoppers of Winston-Salem on Facebook. Because this matter is now pending criminal prosecution, no further details are being released regarding this specific investigation. So far, this is the only case that has resulted in an arrest. We are, however, optimistic that by taking advantage of this sexual assault kit initiative, it will result in other cases being reactivated and resulting in arrests in those cases. Are there any questions? Thank you. Turn it back over to Chief Thompson.
Thank you. If there are no questions, then this will conclude the February 2019 Public Safety News Conference. We look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you for being here.